Hello.
Hey,
Hello
Joe.
there.
Hello. Oh, there you are.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. We'll just get started just a few minutes here.
Sounds good.
I see John Stevens there. Welcome.
Good morning, Harry. How are you?
Good, good.
I like the background.
Yeah. Thanks to MJ too. They helped us out with that.
I wish my coffee looked as good as that.
Yeah, yeah. We got Tony Crippy joining us. Welcome.
Hello.
This is Harry. Welcome. We got Dinky, I believe, also on the line. I think she's on mute. We'll start in just a few minutes. We'll let everybody else gather. In the meantime, I'll go grab a cup of coffee.
Good morning.
Morning, Stephen. How are you?
Good. How's everyone on the call?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
All right, so I see Jill there. I see Stephen. Stephen, welcome. I see Dwayne. How are you? Welcome.
Good morning, Harry.
Awesome. We'll wait just a couple more minutes, get a few more people to join us, and then we'll get started, folks. Can you hear any music?
I can.
Okay. It is it's music from the Relax Cafe. I don't know where that's from, but it sounds good, right, Dwayne? What do you think?
I'm feeling very relaxed right now.
Okay. I understand that there's some sporting event occurring today on the banks of the Olentangy. I don't know. I think there's some kind of a pigskin thing they kick around and throw around. I don't know. There's some nonsense like that. And so I think that might be taking away from some of our audience today. We love the Buckeyes. I'm just kidding. Welcome, Christine. How are you?
Go Bucks.
Yes.
Go Bucks. Absolutely.
We'll get started in just a couple of minutes, folks. And I know we got people joining by phone, so we'll give folks a chance to get going. One of the things you might want to think about, sort of an icebreaker, is what is the name of your favorite movie and why is it your favorite movie? So think about that, and we'll be doing that when we do the intro. I see Mark Smith has joined us. Welcome,
there.
Mark. You're sideways currently, if you want to.
What's that?
Yeah, it's better.
All right.
Mark, I just finished telling the group as part of the intros, I'm going to ask all of you, what is the name of your favorite movie and why is it your favorite movie? So think about that. I am drinking a cup of Tim Hortons coffee. I don't know if you can see this right here. It's, I guess it doesn't quite come across with the background image, but it's my favorite cup of coffee mug that I use that my family gave me. It's got a picture of my wife right there and my son. I think you might be able to see some of that. So.
I'm up in Canton, Ohio, where we do not have Tim Hortons. So I love my early Monday morning drive back, and the first stop is Tim Hortons.
Wow. Yeah. There's somebody who's joined us by phone. Would you like to identify yourself?
Hello, this is Jen Dring with MJ2 Marketing.
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Harry?
Good, good. Thank you for
I apologize. I'm not on. Yeah, I apologize. I'm not on video. I'm kind of on the move this morning, so I wanted to be able to listen in without having to miss it completely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and get started,
Sure.
folks. My name is Harry Kamdar. Welcome to the very first ever Kindness and Coffee. I'll talk a little bit about the purpose and so on. But I just wanted to go around the room first. If you can introduce yourself, your name, your organization, and then just for the fun of it, what is the name of your favorite movie and why is it your favorite movie? So in no particular order, Jill, how about we start with you?
Okay, I'm Jill Cranstuber with Dublin Bridges. Gosh, my favorite movie, I think I have so many, but I'm gonna go with When Harry Met Sally. Just because it's so good every time. Every time I watch it, I laugh at the same time, I cry at the same time. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to pick that as my favorite movie.
All right, very good. Welcome.
And I don't drink coffee, so.
Oh, okay. H2O, I see that. All right.
H2O. I just sent my husband out to get me an iced tea, though. So.
Right. Tony, what an event on Thursday. Oh, my goodness. That place was packed. And we'll have you talk about that in a few minutes, but go ahead and introduce yourself, your organization, and of course, your favorite movie and why. I think you were on mute, Tony. There we go.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, my name is Tony Trippi, and I'm a business owner here in Dublin. I have my own small business, but for this event, I suppose I'm the license holder for TEDxInnovationDr, our TEDx event here in Dublin. And favorite movie, yeah, I didn't really think about that because I really love movies. So there's lots and lots that I really like. But I guess if the question was which movie had you watched the most, when I was growing up, I watched The Breakfast Club something like 56 times. I had the entire movie memorized. And so, you know, if I were to pick something like that, I guess I would say it was the Breakfast Club.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Thank you. And welcome. And we'll have you talk a little bit about the TEDx event that was held on Thursday. Those of you that were there know what I'm talking about, but we'll have you talk about that a little bit later. Let's move on to Stephen. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Steve Moore. I work at the Columbus Foundation. Lots of favorite movies. I will just pick one, Do the Right Thing. I like it because it's complicated, like life, flawed people. And the lesson that I get from the movie is as we increase our awareness about people, maybe there is a greater likelihood of understanding. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you. John, you're up.
Morning, everyone. My name is John Stevens. I'm on the board of the foundation. Also, I'm a financial planner at Edward Jones. Tough question. So I'm a pretty big sports fan. So I would say one of the sports movies that I really like is The Blind Side, which I don't know if anybody's seen that, but it's about kind of a football player that kind of had a little bit of a rough upbringing, but kind of made it to the heights of, his professional and personal aspirations. So I thought it was a good message and one of my favorites.
Very good. Awesome. Welcome. Christine, good morning. Welcome.
Well, good morning, everyone. Harry, thank you for hosting this. This is a great idea.
Our pleasure.
It's good to talk about good things. I am Director of Outreach and Engagement for the City of Dublin. And my favorite, I have lots of favorite movies like Tony, but one of my all-time favorites is Moonstruck, because I am a first-generation American, and it is one of the only movies about Italian Americans that has nothing to do with the mafia. And that, is important. So that's one of my favorites, and I know it by heart.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Mark, good morning.
Hi, my name's Mark Smith. I'm on the board of the Dublin Community Foundation. I'm also an attorney with an office in the Worthington area. And my favorite movie is Rain Man. And great act, great story. But I think the real reason it's my favorite is I went to a little school called Miami University. And there was a radio station in Oxford when I was in school called 97X. And as Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman were driving across the bridge from Cincinnati into Kentucky, they were listening to my friend Steve Baker, who was a DJ at the time and is now the voice of the Miami Redhawks football and basketball team. Their tagline was 97X, bam, the future of rock and roll. And Dustin Hoffman repeated that over and over again.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Dwayne, good morning.
Good morning, Harry. Good morning, everybody. It's kind of fun to hear all of these favorite movies. Oh, my name's Dwayne Maynard. I'm on the board of the foundation as well. I'm an attorney by trade. It's good to hear everybody's movie favorites. I can say that I've seen all of them, and most of them more than once. My favorite movie that I'm going to say, since I can't say The Godfather anymore, would be The Matrix. And Neo is one of my favorite characters of all time. And Lawrence Fishburne's famous line that he's the one is one of the more memorable lines out of a movie that I will always remember.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Dinky, good morning. How are you? You're on mute, Dinky, if you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
So just the reason I'm not on video, some of you know I had Achilles heel surgery 2 weeks ago. So I'm sitting in a low chair so I can keep my leg up. So you just see the top of my head. So that's why I'm not on video. So Tony, demented and sad, but social. Favorite line out of The Breakfast Club. I love all the movies everybody mentioned, but my favorite movie is a really old movie. It's called Missing, and it starred Jack Lemmon. And it is about how human beings change when they learn the truth. It's very political, so don't watch it if you don't want to deal with that. But it is one of my favorites. And I'm the executive director of the Dublin Food Pantry, and it's great to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Dinky, and hope you're recovering. I just found that out a little bit ago. I'm so glad that you still decided to join us. You are a very important part of our community, and your organization is, and the services that you provide. And I just want you to know that you're really near and dear to our heart here at the Dublin Community Foundation. So thank you for all the hard work you're doing there.
Thank you so much.
And let's go to MJ2. Jen, good morning. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and favorite movie and why.
Hi, I am Jen Dring. I am, like I said, with MJ2 Marketing. So we do some work on behalf of the foundation. I'm digital content director with them. So I do some of the writing for blogs and press releases on behalf of the foundation. And back in my other life, I actually was on the board of the foundation for several years. So it's near and dear to my heart. So I love that I'm able to work with this group again. Favorite movie, I'm not really a big movie person, so I'm not sure I have a favorite movie, but and I'm not sure what this says about me, but my husband would tell you it's The Notebook, because it's that movie that if I'm scrolling through the channels, no matter what part of the movie it's on, I stop and I have to watch the rest of it, and it annoys him a lot, and it's probably not the most in-depth and consequential movie, but it gets me every time, and I will stop and watch it every single time.
The ultimate chick flick.
It is. And I'm really not a chick flick kind of girl, which is sort of weird, which is why I think it annoys him so much that I watch it every time. But I do.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And thanks to MJ2, we've developed a beautiful partnership with a local company to help us with press releases, social media, marketing, and so on. And very pleased with the work that they're doing for us. And Erica Newell is our main contact person. So we're very grateful to her, and of course, Megan and everybody else there along with Jen. My favorite movie is Miracle on Ice. If you all remember Miracle on Ice from 1980, I'm a big hockey guy, so that's why. But one of the big things I like beyond hockey with Miracle on Ice is it's about underdogs overcoming the impossible. And my whole life, I've always felt like an underdog, where people always said, you can't do this, Harry, you can't get that done. And I've always had to prove myself over and over. So I am not afraid to take on new initiatives, move full speed ahead. When I believe in something and I put my mind to something, I get it done. And so that movie gives me so much inspiration, and I just cannot, watch enough of it. And my 11-year-old son has also been watching it with me, repeatedly. We watch it every 6 months, over and over. So anyway, enough of that. Moving on to the event today, Kindness and Coffee. So where this started, this whole idea was back in March when the foundation elected me to become the president of the organization. And I'm so thankful and grateful to that, and to all of our members who voted me in. One of my vision was to have monthly coffee touch points with all of you, plus others in our community, folks from the faith-based community, corporate Dublin, also individual donors that we have come to know over the years, to nurture those relationships and just have a free-flowing conversation on a monthly basis between us at the foundation and all of you, so that we can better serve you. Look, the yardstick for measuring success of the foundation, in my estimation, is not necessarily the amount of money we raise or the amount of grants we hand out. My estimation in terms of how we measure success is making a difference for the less fortunate, the vulnerable, and at-risk population in our community. So if we are able to find donors and they want to go ahead and directly donate to one of our partner organizations, we're okay with that. So I want folks to understand that from the nonprofits, we're not here to compete with you. We're here to work with you. And it doesn't matter to us whether a donor wants to come straight to you and donate the money. It doesn't have to come through us. So I just want to be sure you understood that. That said, go ahead and leverage us, leverage our connections. We've got some folks with deep connections in the community. And over the next several months, we are going to be doing some fundraising with corporate Dublin. We've been waiting for the pandemic to subside a bit. Unfortunately, we're going now through what appears to be a second wave. So we'll have to work our way through that. So because we couldn't do the monthly coffee touch points at Panera, the plan was to meet at Panera at Perimeter in the community room. We decided we would do this virtually, leverage technology. So this is the very first one. We'll learn from our successes and failures from this one, and we'll improve. And we'll do this on a monthly basis. And whether we have just 4 or 5 people joining us or 50, we'll do this, and is to spur conversation. And we thought that we would make kindness the main theme. as you all know, kindness appears to be lacking in our country right now. And so we'll dive into some of the questions I have here to spur some conversation. At the end of the day, at the end of this meeting, what we're looking for is really how can the Dublin Community Foundation be more effective in helping the community. And sure enough, it's also about raising dollars and giving out grants, but it's also through the intangibles, through kindness, through random acts of kindness, and so on. So we've got some ideas, but let's get the conversation going. So the first question I have for everybody is, when you think of kindness, what comes to mind? What other words that fall under the family of kindness, if you will, come to mind? So the question is, when you think of kindness, what comes to mind? And what other similar words come to mind?
Love.
Love? Okay.
I would say generosity.
Generosity?
I've seen that a lot.
Compassion.
I'm sorry, Dwayne?
Compassion.
Compassion?
Understanding.
Understanding?
Action.
I'm sorry, Dinky, that was?
Action. Doing
Action.
something.
Yes. Mhm.
I would say empathy, even if it's not something that you can have lived through, that you can understand being in someone else's shoes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Empathy. Uh-huh. What else?
I just have to say, in my head, I keep going, kindness is cool, because that's our hashtag at Dublin Bridges. And so I'm just going to say kindness is cool.
Okay.
I also think of it as doing things that can be uncomfortable, but doing it because it's the right thing to do. Oh, Steve, that's a nod to your movie.
I was going to throw in a word that we don't often connect with kindness, but justice.
Very good.
Well said.
Absolutely.
You know, that's
I
interesting.
think going with that would be respect as well. I think we're lacking that a little these days. I just think respect for individuals goes a long way.
Oh, so true.
Yes, yes. Very good. Anything else? Tony, you got anything you want to share?
Well, sure. I mean, and I guess this hasn't been said exactly yet, but selflessness. I mean, when I think of kindness, I think of being blessed and thinking about sharing those blessings with others. So a spirit of thankfulness leads, I think, a lot of times to the ability to demonstrate and share kindness with others.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Sharing in general.
Sharing in general, yeah. Mark, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I associate listening with kindness. I think so many people feel unheard. And I think one of the ultimate ways you can show kindness is by truly listening to what people have to say, and you gain a better understanding for their perspective. And I think that's an ultimate kindness.
Right, right. So those are all great suggestions, great words. I think they're all synonymous with the word kindness. In fact, if you pull up Webster's, you'll see a lot of those words in there. But they don't have certain words in there which have been the order of the day, if you will, here as of late. Justice, for instance, is not described in there. I did read something yesterday in preparation for today about kindness, and there are so many organizations, by the way, out there that whose mission is nothing but kindness. There's even that random act of kindness organization out there, which I'm so impressed with, and I believe there's a chapter here in the Columbus area also. But when you think about justice, justice is not just any one of these. It's a combination of everything. You've got to be able to listen. You've got to be able to respect other people's views, have an open mind, have an open heart. And until you have those things, you can't get there. But I think justice is a big one, and that in and of itself can take up the entire event, just having a discussion on. But that is so important. But that is a good segue into our next question. Having discussed what kindness means to you and to all of us here, where would you say that we are at with kindness in our community, in our state, and in our country? And are we at the same spot in our community as we are in our state and in our country? Or are we kinder in Dublin or in the Central Ohio region compared to the rest of the country? What would you say?
I can tell you, I think we're very, very kind in Dublin from my perspective. I know maybe people are seeing things differently, but Dublin Bridges, we put needs out there lately almost daily, and they're met so quickly and people respond so quickly. And, this is really about neighbor helping neighbor, and people are so compassionate and concerned and generous and kind. And I've had a couple of people say things to me differently, than that they're seeing in the community right now. And, I feel very fortunate that from my vantage point, I'm seeing all the good. I, would hope that maybe there are bits of that nationally and in our country, but, that's not what we're seeing on the news. But I definitely, from my perspective, am seeing so much kindness in our community. But as I said, I'm in a really fortunate position for that. So.
I think it depends on context. I've worked for 30 years in the not-for-profit and governmental sector, and I've always considered Central Ohio an enormously generous community. Kindness, though, it depends on the context. I am concerned about isolation. I'm concerned about bullying. I'm concerned about examples parents are setting for children that they're following. I'm very concerned. I think when we put the right thing out there to do, people follow, but there's almost is it a part of our ethical DNA? I want to believe that it is in Central Ohio. And that's generally been my experience. But again, I think it all depends on context. If we were having this discussion on the Near East Side of Columbus, it would be a different conversation.
Absolutely. Great point. Great point. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'm an optimist by nature. I'd like to think that that we are really truly kind in Dublin, and as a people in general, I'd like to believe that. But I do have some real concerns. I think from the top down in our country, divisiveness has become kind of the way of our country. You see that in Ohio when it comes to the pandemic, where you have a governor that I think is working very hard from a place deep in his heart to try to make sure that everyone is safe. And there are people that really feel that is the ultimate kindness, and that's fantastic. But then there are other people that feel like it's tyranny and oppression, and it's created such a divisiveness that you see that even down to the Dublin level. We at the Community Foundation, I think our purpose is kindness and trying to work with our partner charities and trying to do the right thing. And there's been an outflowing of generosity during a difficult time. But then at the same time, if you look at Dublin was the meeting place apparently for this plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan. And
actually, it wasn't.
Dublin, jump in and say the same thing. It was not Dublin.
Dublin across
makes me crazy.
But the area. So if we look at Ohio,
the area, that's right.
That was logistics, but yeah.
And also in the
Christine and I are sensitive about that, apparently.
I understand that, but also in the schools, we're seeing issues of diversity in the schools, and I mean, there seems to be something that to me seems like it would just be common sense that we should love one another and do the right thing has turned into this awful political battle that really I don't think is necessary. I'd like to see us as a community, as a state, as a country to get back to working towards helping one another and forgetting the divisiveness.
Thank you.
Mark, thanks for those words. This is Dinky. I think everybody's touched on something important. I think of kindness more as a direct action between individuals. And I think Jill's right. We're extremely lucky in Dublin. The food pantry, for example, continues to receive donations, continues to receive support in spite of the pandemic. So we feel very blessed with that. But the next question would be, how would people do face-to-face with the folks we serve? And what would their reaction be if they were in a different place? So, and I'm going to say this, and if it comes out wrong, I'm sure I'll hear about it. But, you know, it's easy to be kind from a distance. It's much harder to be kind face-to-face with someone. And I think that distance has helped create what you're talking about, Mark, which is sort of this current national feeling of divisiveness, and even in the state and even in the city. So I just think that we have a lot of work to do if we really want to make some changes.
Dinky, that is so well put. Thank you for saying that. It is easier to be kind from a distance. And, you know, I think about, we've had many, well, not many, 3 or 4 instances of homelessness in Dublin, particularly one in historic Dublin, kind of under the bridge. And when I think about the citizen comments and phone calls that came into the city, the reaction to it was not kindness. It was not in my neighborhood.
Exactly.
And so, but had we said we need donations for the homeless, then the kindness would be abundant. So that's such a good point.
Yeah, I agree with that. We actually get a lot of phone calls about specifically what Christine was just mentioning, the homeless people on the bridge. And we're like, you know, and they don't want anything, which you would think that people would be like, okay, well, then they're being self-sufficient. I kind of agree with, because we see both sides of it. People call us because they want us to move them because they know that we've housed homeless people before, which, by the way, we've never done against their will. But then also people call because they want to help. So it is interesting. I do have to say that we're really careful when we post needs, just in how we describe the person, but we always try to put something personal in there. And when it's personalized to people, they really want to help. But I'm often pleased when we say, you know, that this family is an immigrant family, and people really step up. And that always makes me feel really good about the attitude of the city. Again, just seeing, you know, maybe a small area of it, but definitely seeing the kindness out there. But I do agree with when it's personal to someone, when they can relate to something, they're probably more kind. I always say that a lot of what people say on social media, they would never say to the person's face. And, you know, it's very easy to make nasty comments on social media, but would you really say that to somebody if they were standing in front of you?
Right, right. Good point. I've had the benefit of working in the prison industry, juvenile corrections. Used to work at these prisons, actually ran a couple of them in different parts of the state. And I will tell you that when it was time to release the youthful offenders, we don't like to use the word inmate in the juvenile corrections world. I'm still acting like I'm still with that industry, but you know how it is. When you've been somewhere, it never leaves your heart. You might leave it, but it never leaves your heart. But these young men who were going back to their home areas, unfortunately, were going to likely recommit crime because of the areas of the community they lived in. They didn't have a chance to really succeed, especially if they came from, let's say, an area such as near east side of Columbus or the near east side of Cleveland, and there are some areas where you are just starting the race 50 feet behind everybody else. So how are you expected to be able to compete with the person in the suburbs like Dublin, Ohio, starting 20 feet ahead of everybody else? And so I'm, that stretches my thinking to the people, especially the new Americans, the immigrant community that lives in the roughly the southeastern portion of the Dublin school district. Might be, fall to the city of Columbus, but at some point you have to stop looking at boundaries, and it's the community. You can't draw a line there, but they are part of our community. And how do you show kindness to them? How do you bring them into the fray? And how do you, and these are hardworking people for the most part, So that leads us to our next question in terms of, we've talked about what kindness means. We've talked about where we are as a community, state, and country. It appears to me that our community, whether it's Dublin or the Columbus metropolitan area that we're talking about in general, is probably kinder than the country overall. That said, it's with a caveat, right? You go to pockets of Central Ohio where things just aren't quite as rosy. We're all aware of the sharp increase in shootings that have been occurring in Columbus area here recently, and that's a huge issue. And so we've got to get to the root cause of it. We can't solve it all here in this forum, or neither can the Dublin Community Foundation. However, I think it starts in small increments, right? The change. And so, speaking of that, what ideas do you have in promoting kindness in our community? Anybody can go. Tony, you want to go, and you want to put in a little commercial about the TEDx event that was held on Thursday?
Well, I'm certainly happy to talk about the TEDx event. And I suppose it is one aspect of this idea of what we can do. And I think in this sense, kindness is just about creating a broader sense of inclusiveness. And so with that sort of a backdrop, I mean, yes, we had our 2020 TEDx Innovation Drive event on Thursday. It went exceedingly well, and mostly in no small part because of the kind support of the Dublin Community Foundation, as well as the City of Dublin, who just bent over backwards to help us put that event together. I can honestly say we couldn't have done it without those two organizations in particular. But if you, we'll be posting the videos soon, within the next couple of weeks. And this year we touched on isolation as a topic, and we had four amazing student speakers who talked about growing up Black and the impact of art and culture on the ability to recognize and be able to relate and cope and really grow and move ahead despite obvious prejudices. And we also had the idea that you can overprotect the youngsters, the whole helicopter parent idea, and how ultimately, while done and for all the best purposes, isn't always the best way for us to create an environment for our young people where they're really going to be able to succeed and really are going to be able to take that idea of kindness and inclusiveness and carry it on as they continue to become adults and they have children of their own. So with events like TEDx, where everybody in the community comes together and everybody contributes, we really do try to break down barriers as far as, well, young people couldn't possibly do something like this. Well, that's not really true. Young people did the vast majority of it this year and last year.
Tony, if I could add, it was started by a group of young people who were volunteers. This began because of young people. So
yes. Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. It was very impressive. Tony, there was a young lady by the name of, I believe, Taddy Demas. I'm not sure if I have the name correct. She spoke rather eloquently about growing up African American and some of the challenges that she was faced with, and also some of the areas she looked for to draw inspiration. And a lot of times people want to look around to see, is there somebody that looks like me that I can make my hero or heroine? And so I was really impressed with her, along with a bunch of other people that were on the on your speaking circuit that evening. And we look forward to watching the videos. And I think when it comes to kindness, I would suggest to our group over here, when you get a chance, if you did not attend the event, kindly watch those videos. I would assume they'll be available on your website, Tony.
Yeah, actually, they'll because it's the TED organization is the overall parent organization for this, and so TED has a YouTube channel, and so all of the videos get posted to their YouTube channel. We submit them to them, and then they post them. They let us know, and so once we get back that they've been approved and they're up on the channel, we'll disseminate the URLs for the individual videos. But that young woman was Tati. And,
Okay.
yeah, so she did a fabulous job, and again, all 6 speakers were amazing, and the students in particular really stepped up. So
Right.
it was great.
Thank you. And Christine, I tell you what, that whole drive-in concept is fabulous. My family and I have attended a movie there. I was there for the TEDx event. And, who would have thought a year ago that this would be possible, right? And so this is an example of how the community has responded to a great deal of adversity through the pandemic. Yeah, there are ways to overcome.
Let me tell you, as a government entity, it has not been an easy thing to respond to citizens who are so angry at closures, and
Right.
it has been refreshing, and we know that the vast majority of Dubliners are kind and understanding and want to do the safe, right thing. But it's extraordinary how this issue has been so divisive and politicized. I do want to say 2 things about some ideas. The first is I'm glad we're speaking regionally, because something that I find a little bothersome, and Dinky and Jill could probably particularly relate to this. When there is need, people still say, well, is that Dublin or is it the school district? And I find myself just not even using that language any longer. It doesn't matter. We have Hilliard City School Districts in our students in our city. Who cares? These boundaries matter when it comes to legislation and when it comes to services, but it shouldn't when it comes to kindness. And an idea I do have, and Harry, I think I mentioned this to you early in the pandemic, is something for the foundation to possibly host called Solution Saturdays. This is actually the concept of Greg Peterson, Councilmember Peterson, who, when he was mayor, he really took charge of our drug take-back days and our opioid crisis. And he suggested that we host something called Solution Saturdays. We just couldn't get it together, but it strikes me as a funding opportunity for kindness, for people to spar their own ideas, their own crusades of kindness, by hosting Solution Saturdays, almost like what are those TV shows where you pitch something?
Oh, like Shark Tank?
Shark Tank?
Yeah, like Shark Tank. Maybe it's Kindness Tank.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think that would fly. I think there's a lot of innovation here, and I'd be more than happy to help produce something with you in that.
Wow, that is exciting. That is wow. I just wrote that down, Christine. We'll have to have a chat about that, and I'm sure some of our board members will find this to be very invigorating. And so, thank you for sharing that. Before we go further, I just wanted to welcome MJ2's President and CEO, Megan James, who has joined us. Megan, good morning. Welcome. I think you're on mute if you're listening. Okay, so we'll come back to Megan when she's available. So we were on the question of what ideas do you have in promoting kindness in our community? And what I want you to do is think as big as you want or even as little as you want. Remember, it starts with just a small thought. You know, if you're thinking positively, if you have kindness in your heart, it could be as simple as you going through a Wendy's drive-through and going ahead and paying for the car behind you, or being kind and considerate of a senior citizen who is struggling to get their groceries in their trunk. Or like the other day, I was at Kroger on Bridge Street, and there was what would appear to be a Chinese Asian gentleman who didn't seem to speak a lot of English, but he must have been on a very, very strict budget. And he was looking for that thing that was on his coupon he had, and then he had a digital coupon. He said, "Is this the same thing?" And it was not. So I went ahead and pointed out to him through motions, just gesturing, because he didn't quite understand the language very much. And he was so thankful. So it's little, acts of kindness. And little acts of kindness, honestly, are like if you were to take a bowl of water, clear water, and put a drop of blue ink in it, just a little drop of blue ink, and that can be equated to an act of kindness. Can you imagine how that blue ink will spread in the water? And it will go, so far, and then you go to the edge of that and put another blue ink. It has a ripple effect, is what I'm getting at. So you start one random act of kindness, it just starts a chain of good things that happen in the community. And we could certainly use a lot of that. So, we can do something as little as that. We can do something broader. I love this idea of Solution Saturday, which could be a wonderful funding opportunity for acts of kindness or ideas that could move our community forward and bring us together. So I appreciate those comments. Other folks who would like to chime in here.
Harry, it's Steve. So one thing I did not share is my role at the foundation and who I work with. I'm in a department of 2, and my partner is Dr. Amy Acton, who is our director of kindness. So while I'll be glad to share what you're thinking about with Amy, and I'm certain she would want to spend some time maybe helping you think about some things. I do think it's an absolute right place for municipalities, community foundations, and other institutions to have this conversation. While it's important that it trickle up, it's also important that institutions have a voice and model expected behavior. The overall behavior that I think helps this is ultimately creating a sense of belonging for people in the community. You do that, and you will be able to actualize kindness. You will be able to start thinking about more equity. You will increase chances of success for everyone in the community. And I think you'll be able to decrease some of the boundaries that separate us. The biggest challenges that we have in affluent communities is so some of the isolation and separation is done on purpose, which is why folks moved. And as you create more awareness and create a sense of belonging for more folks, just maybe you're able to open up things, open up more awareness, and do things like that. So anyway, I don't want to take up too much time other than I think Amy would be interested in this conversation, and I'll make sure to share what you're working on with her.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephen. I would appreciate that. Happy to, meet Amy over a cup of coffee, whatever it takes. Would love to coalesce our efforts. As I think Christine alluded to this earlier, we can't just think in terms of Dublin as a small portion of the community. It's the entire metropolitan area, the entire greater Columbus area. So thank
Yeah,
you.
you should start at Dublin though.
Well, but also what could this inspire in other municipalities and for
Yes.
other community foundations? And I think Dubliners, and I think Jill and Judge, you probably would know as longtime Dublin residents, Dubliners are so proud of setting examples of goodness and innovation. And I think the community could get behind it. One other idea, if I can, never invite me to an idea meeting because I have a new one every 15 minutes. This is not a new one, and it's about the beloved community, and it's about something near and dear to my heart, and that's the Martin Luther King Day Sunday Supper, which is a concept that we really began with volunteers that harkens back to the days of the civil rights movement, when some of the most effective movements began over Sunday supper, right? And we began to host these, and clearly we're not going to be able to do it in January safely. And so we have created Sunday supper conversation guides to have at the family and neighborhood level. And I would love to partner with anyone. And actually Deb Maynard, Dwayne's wife, has agreed, you know her? Has agreed to help read these topics. And we've created a lot of topics like how to have a conversation on white privilege, how to have a conversation on ageism, how to have a safe conversation about LGBTQ issues that you see on your street, in your neighborhood, in your school. So we have these toolkit guides that are print on demand ready, but we would need to develop sort of a co-marketing evening to say the Sunday night before the MLK holiday, let's think about Dr. King's vision of a beloved community and have a Sunday supper with your family and closest loved ones.
Indeed, indeed. Wow, that's powerful. I think that's
Love
another
the idea.
Go ahead.
Don't do it in just a month though.
Ooh, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, really well said. And the idea was to host a Sunday supper and then release these monthly so that it didn't just happen once a year, right? It's sort of like what Jill and Dinky experience of the onslaught of volunteers for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Well, where are you on February 21st? So well said, Stephen.
Thank you. We'll keep it moving here, but I wanted to ask Dinky and Jill, one or the other, think about an inspiring story of an act of kindness that occurred during the pandemic over the last several months that you'd like to share. We'll use that as our closing. We're not there yet, but if you have one, just start thinking about it. I always like to end meetings, events on a positive, inspirational, motivational note that gets everybody excited. And there's nothing better than to hear from the people with the boots on the ground that are right there. So just think about that as we get to it. But as we're still kicking around ideas on promoting kindness in our community, I just want to invite anybody else to chime in that hasn't so far.
Harry, there's one thing I'd like to interject and share with the people who are on the line, and I don't want to have this be a negative something, but when I think of kindness and I think about what we've been discussing, something that comes to mind for me is openness. And I can tell you guys, I want you guys to know that having these conversations is great and it's uplifting a lot of times. But I can tell you that as a consequence of having conversations like this and going out and trying to share kindness with others, still in our community here in Dublin, when I try to be nice to people, I think I'm saying this from the perspective of an African-American male. And in attempting to exhibit kindness to others, sometimes it's received with a sense of reservation or a sense of like, why are you approaching me kind of thing. And if that happens to someone like me who's trying to be community minded and kind to others, I think that it says something still about our community and the fact that we have a difficulty in being open, and it's not necessarily the group that's on the line or on the Zoom call, obviously, but there are a lot of barriers still, I feel, in our beloved community that we got to, in some way, shape, or form, find a way to break down. And openness as a community mantra, I guess, is something that I think that we need to continue to work on.
Thank you for sharing that, Dwayne. I understand what you're saying. I've been there and experienced a little bit of that myself. You know, I mentioned my favorite movie being Miracle on Ice, underdog. I've always been an underdog my whole life. For whatever reason, people have just not believed in me, yet I've overcome. And I'm not suggesting that I'm some sort of a hero, but from where I was at in my younger years and where I'm at now, I could have easily just ended up on the wrong side of the tracks, if you will, gone to different things. And over the last 4 years, I will tell you that life for me has been not very pleasant, even here in Dublin, Ohio, where sometimes I'm treated with like a one that probably does not speak much English, or that I don't belong because I don't look like everybody else. What I have chosen to do is, rather than get mad, I have chosen to make it a learning opportunity if possible, and be the bigger person and try to help people understand. That doesn't mean that, you know, we win over everybody. It's going to take, if we can win over people one at a time, that's an accomplishment. We're not going to be able to win over everybody all the time. And I understand the struggle that you're talking about, but we must continue to persevere. And I know you persevered with some of the things that we've talked about in the past. We just have to continue. We cannot lose the vision that has been set by folks that have been here before us, you know, such as Dr. King and so on. We've got to continue that. When I think about the event that occurred here in Dublin on Thursday with the young people at the Kaufman Park Drive-In, my gosh, these are what, 16, 17-year-old, Tony, so inspiring to see young people rising above all of this. My 11-year-old son, who happens to be biracial, you know, kids in his age group, in his peer group, do not see race like perhaps we all do in our generation. You know, they're just so used to seeing people of different ethnicities and so on. So that said, let's continue the good fight. I hear you. We're not going to be naive about kindness, but let's keep up the good fight. I really appreciate your perspective on this.
Thanks, Harry.
Anybody else on kindness before we move on to an inspirational real life story from Dinky and Jill? Okay, so who would like to go first? Jill, you want to share something? Do you have something you'd like to share? Something inspiring, an act of kindness that occurred over the last several months over the pandemic?
Yeah, we probably have I feel like we have a zillion examples, but
okay.
The one that kind of actually includes the Dublin Community Foundation, so I'm going to talk about that, was our program we did called Snacks for Students. And this was a really big undertaking for us because we are used to dealing with, you know, little smaller needs on a daily basis. But what we did when the schools closed for the pandemic, we realized that a lot of these personal care pantries that we have in our schools that have snacks in them, students were not going to have access to those. So the schools were giving out the free grab and go breakfasts and lunches, but the snack part of it was missing. And I'm a mom of 7, so I can tell you kids snack a ton. So we decided to follow the buses and be at the locations where these snacks or the free grab and go breakfasts and lunches were, and hand out snack bags. And these were about $10 worth of snacks per bag, and big bags of snacks to last a week. We did this every Friday, and we needed to find a way to pay for that. So we put this out to the community thinking, well, maybe we'll be able to do this for a couple of weeks. And we put it out to the community, and we put it out to foundations, the Dublin Community Foundation being one of them. And I find this so interesting, but we did it all the way through the summer, all the way until school started again. And it was almost an exact number of donations and what we bought and, you know, what we handed out. And, you know, we just could not have done that without the generosity of the community and Dublin Community Foundation, Rotary, other people that gave money to us. People did matching fund donations. It was really just, the community just so stepped up. It was so kind and so nice. And the kids loved it. And our volunteers were just constantly said, you know, it was the best day. I had the best day I've had in a long time, just seeing the looks on the kids' faces. So that was a great thing our community really stepped up for.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. That, you know, really is very invigorating, very inspiring. And that's the kind of story we can share with potential donors about the impact their dollars are having. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Thank
well,
you. Anything
and I
you'd
just
like
want
to
to
share?
say that the pantry even appreciates so much what Jill and them did, because we were able to tell families, you know, go to the school that you would normally go to so that you can get extra snacks for the week. So, you know, it doesn't go unnoticed what other folks are doing in the community. So I guess we could say ditto. We've had incredible support. The food pantry is not closed, not once during the entire pandemic. We've gone from 150 volunteers a week to 50 because we have to do social distancing. So our entire operation has changed, but the people have not. So I'm just going to share a little short story. We have a volunteer who is in the early stages of dementia, and it can be extremely challenging and problematic sometimes. Sends people on their way before they've gotten their food. But what I want to say is that the volunteers have rallied around this person. And one day he took off to walk home, which is nowhere near the pantry. And everybody stopped, everybody, to find him. We did. It was all fine. We now have him assigned sort of specifically to a volunteer when he's there so that we can keep an eye on him. But he needs us too. He needs something to do. It's his one day out of the house. And we don't want to take that away from him. Is it challenging? Absolutely. Is it the right thing to do? Yep, it certainly is. So our volunteers are the folks who are doing the kindness. They're the ones who are going to the car, asking people how they are. What do you need? Does somebody have a birthday? We've got a birthday bag. It's got cake and paper plates in it and goodies, and you can, you know, have a birthday for your kid. So it's just about recognizing that there are all sorts of needs that haven't stopped because of the pandemic, and to try and be responsive to those. And I will say that we consider Dublin Bridges a partner in what we do every day. I mean, I refer people, poor Jill, at least once a week.
Well,
oh my gosh, can you please help this person? Or the Welcome Warehouse.
Yeah, that's very mutual. We also refer people to the food pantry. We're always asking, can we get food for somebody? So
yep, absolutely. And that's how it should be.
Partnership.
Yeah, that's how it should be. And just a couple of things. We get a referral at least once a week now from Dublin City Schools regarding homeless families. This is not just the folks under the bridge. There are lots of homeless people in Dublin right now. And part of that is because they don't want to leave the Dublin City Schools. So we do what we can in cooperation with the other organizations to make sure that they can stay. The problem is there's nothing in Dublin for homeless families. So there's no shelters, there's no low-income housing. So there're just other barriers that present themselves that you learn more and more about. And just keep in mind, December 31st, the eviction moratorium is over. And we suspect we will begin to see a lot more people who are not going to have anywhere to go.
You know, Pinky, I just won't have it. I mean, I'm so furious. I'm so furious to hear this, that we've got to find a solution for this.
Yep.
And I'd love to, I'm going to call you Monday.
Monday afternoon.
I will call you Monday afternoon because we have to figure this out, and we can get a church to figure it out with us. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, they're not going to have enough money.
It's not about money. I'm talking about a partner.
Housing. Yeah. That can work. The Interfaith Hospitality Network used to be, you know, what we relied on for homeless families, but it's sort of transitioned into something else. But anyway.
I'll call you Monday.
Okay. Kindness is critical. I want to go back to, and I'm sorry, is it Wayne? Wayne, I don't know your name. Sorry, Dwayne. You know, it's more than kindness if we really want to create change. We've got a lot of work to do. So we don't see our numbers going down. We see our numbers going up, and our numbers are going up dramatically. And we anticipate that to continue, that as people cannot find jobs or have lost everything, food is something they shouldn't have to worry about. They've got a lot of other things on their plate. So we're just happy to be able to be there with support from the foundation, from other organizations and individuals. We absolutely would not be there if it weren't for that support. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dinky, for sharing that. Thank you very much. And I'm glad this is, creating action items, Christine, going back to Solutions Saturday, sort of kind of, along those lines, right? Let's identify issues, let's deal with them, let's bring people together. I want to be respectful of everybody's time as we are approaching the 11 o'clock hour, actually just a few minutes past 11. Just wanted 2 more minutes of your time. One, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday morning to join us. You didn't have to do this, but you did. We invited several other organizations also to join us. Weren't able to join us for a variety of different reasons, surgeries and so on. It's Buckeye football Saturday, and in Central Ohio, Buckeye football is king, right? So I next time we'll plan better so we're not competing with Buckeye football. But that said, I hope that you feel that today was a better day for our community compared to yesterday. We've had this conversation now, even if it's just a handful of us. It's with these little types of things that can create big things. And I tell you what, we are going to do some great things here in Dublin. And for the Columbus region, we're going to do some great things, collaborate with the Columbus Foundation, with Stephen Moore and Amy Acton and others, and then, inspire other communities around us, suburban communities, to do the same thing. And if we start having these conversations on a regular basis, we can get there. So the plan going forward is that we will do this on a monthly basis, and we will have a panel format, much like we have today. As this touch point increases in volume and we have more and more people, we will truly do a panel format, because not everybody will be able to chime in and have a say so. So we'll have a panel of 5 or 6 people at the most who will be asked questions. I'll act as a moderator, or somebody else from the foundation might act as a moderator, and we'll continue the dialogue. The focus will not always be with a certain segment of the community. Next time it could be that we have corporate Dublin at the table. We could have folks from some of the bigger organizations, corporations that are housed in Dublin. It could be the donors that we might bring to the table. It could be other folks. So I would like to think that at some point we will also be able to bring in a speaker at the national level that works on this type of stuff. And I'll consult with Stephen and Amy on, we'll take their lead because they are the flagship of all these types of things in our region. So that's that. And then lastly, our plan for December, which is the traditional holiday time period, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and other holidays, whatever it is that our community celebrates, folks from our community, we want to be very mindful of the fact that the pandemic is going to obviously not leave people unscathed in the December time period, especially the children who might be used to getting Christmas presents or holiday presents, Christmas meals or holiday meals. And not just the children, but also the elderly that might be in senior citizens' homes, isolated. Want to be very mindful of that. So we have been very meticulous, very strategic in conserving our dollars that we have. But in December, we would like to consider issuing grants to organizations, whether it's the Food Pantry, whether it's Dublin Bridges, whether it is Welcome Warehouse and others that are in this space who are going to directly make the holiday time period a better experience for these impacted families. We don't want to see any kid in Dublin go without a Christmas present or a holiday present. We don't want to see any family in Dublin go without a holiday meal. That's what our big goal is. That's what our vision is. So help us with that. Those of you that are here with boots on the ground, and also Christine, you've probably got a better pulse for this, advise us on this over the next several weeks on which direction to go in, and then we will make it happen.
I will be glad to do that. We'll be hosting another Dublin Cares meeting very soon, so we'll make that a main topic.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. As we sign off over here, I just want to say that this is not the do-all end-all. If you have any further thoughts, please email them to me. I'll be glad to take your ideas, suggestions into consideration. This was our very first Kindness and Coffee event. We'll continue this. Want to make it bigger and better. So please don't hold back. So with that, thank you again for joining us, and go Bucks. Bye-bye.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Everybody have a good weekend.
Oh, wait.
Thank you.
I-O.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.